So recently I spoke at the Natalist Conference in Austin, Texas, and I gave a speech which I entitled The Ideology of the Margins, the Unpaid Wages of Child Rearing. And in this speech, I talked about how, through ideology, the West has made being a mother a low-status occupation. And this is actually a really, really, really bad thing for the continuation of our civilization. If we want to have a civilization in the future, well, people have to turn up for it. We can't replace it with marginal issues such as homosexuals, transsexuals, or immigrants, because these groups do not reproduce our civilization. They either don't reproduce anything or they reproduce something else. And so we have to take this very, very seriously. And I say this as someone who has a family and has reproduced significantly. So I know what I'm talking about on this. And this was very, very well received. And it was particularly well delivered, if I may say so myself, if I could, because I watched it back, because you never know how these things are when you're in the middle of them. But I watched it back and I was like, wow, that was really good. Again, don't mind me blowing my own trumpet, but I'm not a great public speaker, but I think I did a really good job on this. And the argument, I think, is really, really sound. And what I said at the end is essentially the marginal issues have to go back to the margins. They have to just be something that is a niche occupation for certain people. And we've seen, in fact, in the transgender issue in Britain, the what is a woman question, the videos that I've done on it have been mainly focused around access to certain bathrooms, because that seems to be the majority of the context and the majority of the substance of the actual issue of the definition of woman in the United Kingdom, who gets to access certain bathrooms. Now that's a very niche issue. That's a very, very, very small scale niche concern of very few people in the country. And what I'm hoping that this Supreme Court ruling means is that particular issue goes back to the margins. We don't need to continue discussing it now. The question is resolved in favor of the majority, who are the people who reproduce our civilization going into the future. So these are the people whose concerns, if the majority, the reproductive majority, want to have a civilization in a certain way and not another way, well, I'm sorry, but the unreproductive minority just have to give way on this. It's just the way it has to be. And what I said at the end of this is that we are going to need a natalist ideology going forward into the future. One wasn't needed in prior eras because there was a lack of birth control and the civilization itself was formatted around families. I mean, you may remember from, if you're anywhere near my age, you remember how familial our civilization felt and how family friendly everywhere you went was. It was expected that families would come with their kids to practically anything, unless it was something that was deliberately for adults only. Everything was child friendly. And now virtually nothing is. It seems that our civilization has completely marginalized families, which of course puts it in people's mind that they shouldn't have families because families therefore are a kind of low status burden. And that is an ideological position. And we will need a pro-natalist ideology to reformat things back to how they used to be. I'll leave a link in the description to this because this is about 20 minutes long. And I like I said, I genuinely think it's one of my best speeches and one of my best arguments. I'm very pleased with how it came out because, like I said, at the time you don't know how it's going. But anyway, the reason that I'm doing this is not just to blow my own trumpet. I saw this from Wei Wu on Twitter this morning, and this is she has an argument here that is essentially the proof that my argument is correct, and she has a case study. So she says, I know how to solve the fertility problem in all the Western countries. Ban promiscuity. I'm going to use nicer language than she does. She says, people say fertility is so low because raising child is inexpensive. If I give people money, then people make more child. This is not true. If give people more money than people, her English isn't great. Finland, Estonia, Italy, Japan, and Australia all try this. Still not work. Still no child. Austria, is it Austria? No, Hungary also have a raft of pronatalist policies based in economics, and they have had a minor bump, but it hasn't gone very far. I think Ceausescu did something like this in communist Romania, where they just banned birth control, and there was a bump in fertility rates, but then they just started importing illegal foreign birth control, and the fertility rates went down. So I think what she's driving at here is that it has to be about how the women feel about having children. It has to be that they want to have children, because otherwise they will find ways not to have children. And so, okay, well, what can we do to persuade them? Well, she says, I'm a woman. I know how women think. Women not care about reality. We care about emotion. What gives most feel good emotion? I love the pidgin English. Attention and social status. Now, this is a point that I made in my speech. Being a mother cannot be allowed to be low social status. Being a mother has to come with many, many, many social privileges, social recognition. She says, right now, the West has a culture that makes promiscuous women famous. Regular girl sees this and thinks, okay, I'm going to go and be a promiscuous woman. Now, you can, the two girls who are like, I'm going to sleep with 100 men in a day and things like this, that's the apex of this kind of culture, right? Now, if they're promiscuous, they may never be a mother, and if they have a child, they'll raise the baby to become a bad adult. The Mongolian government knows the fact that women most value attention and social status. Even though Mongolia's GDP is growing fast, the fertility rate has not decreased like all other countries. It has actually increased. How do they do that? Well, Mongolians celebrate when a woman becomes a mother. They build statues for mothers, they have special days for recognition for mothers, they give awards to mothers. All of this has one goal: give women social status and attention for becoming mothers. Young girls see this, and now they want to quickly find a good man so they can become mothers. Now look at the West. The most famous woman is Kim Kardashian. I don't know how famous Kim Kardashian is now, but OnlyFans. OnlyFans is the worst kind of incentive away from women choosing to become mothers and instead becoming promiscuous. She is rich and always on TV. Also, many girls on OnlyFans make money to be famous. Yes, that's true. Young girls see them. Now they find pervert man so they can do the same thing. Very few girls become mothers. If the West wants to survive, we must all be Mongolia. Reject promiscuity, accept mother. Say no, there's more, but anyway, you're welcome to Mongolia for this proud wisdom. So I thought, okay, well, I'll look it up. And as you can see, she's got the picture of the statue of mothers in Mongolia. And yeah, it does seem to be the case that Mongolia's economic growth is staggering, especially compared to Britain's economic growth, which is something like 0.1%, if that. Mongolia's last year was 4.9%. This year it's projected to be 6.6%. And she is right to say that economic growth usually correlates with a decline in the birth rates, but that hasn't happened in Mongolia. It seems that Mongolia's total fertility rate, it has dropped slightly, but in 2020 it was 2.9, and in 2022 it was 2.7. So that's still really, really high for a country that is experiencing a surge of economic growth. And that is a really, really good point, because it is true that they have the Order of Maternal Glory medal that is awarded. In fact, there are several distinctions to it, apparently. You've got first class, which is awarded, and I love that they can make this competitive, right? It's like, okay, you get a medal. Oh, well, great. You know, every mother gets the medal. But no, competitive now. So first class, awarded to mothers who have 6 or more children, and second class, awarded to mothers who have 4 or 5 children. So my wife would get the second class one. She is still asking me for another baby, and it's like, no, darling, no. The 2 younger ones we have now are just more than enough hassle, and I'm just too old for another baby. But anyway, so the point is, they do have this, and again, this is a social status issue. This is, I do think, the majority, the problem of the fertility rate is a social status issue, and I bet there are certain social honours that are awarded having second and first class medals of honor for mothers. And why wouldn't we want this? Why wouldn't we want to give our mothers medals of honor? Because, I mean, I think our mothers do a great job, generally. My mother did a bloody brilliant job, I think. And I see I see all these other women doing just really hard work, raising their families. And obviously, I don't want to leave fathers out in the cold here, but let's focus particularly on the mothers a minute. Why not make motherhood a noble, honourable, and high status, I can't say profession because it's not a profession, high status occupation again? Our civilization was clearly better when we gave motherhood the position of high status. When we gave social honours to mothers, our civilization was just in a better condition. Because, and it's hard to believe, but women used to be the lifeblood of society. They used to run like actual clubs, like charities and like, local organizations and institutions in local communities. Well, if they're all in the workplace, they can't do that anymore. The concerned mothers of the world have no way of actually expressing their own agency because they aren't mothers and they aren't working in the social realm. They are now working for corporations and churning out corporate profits in email jobs that aren't really hugely productive. So I think Mongolia is a great case study in this. This is a great post by Wei Wu. And like I said, I'll link my speech in the description, and I definitely recommend you go watch it.